So I'm going to tell you about that story with a doctor from Indiana. And this doctor, he called me up about 9 months ago to tell me how thankful he was that we encouraged him to do meaningful use. When he started meaningful use over 2.5 years ago, he was one of the early adopters, but I remember him when he called me because he was complaining about how much the government was being so intrusive in our practices, and he really didn't want to do meaningful use, but because we were encouraging all of our users to do it, he complied. And this is the story I want to share with you that he shared with me 9 months ago. When he called me up, he said, my staff was taking the blood pressure for the vital sign requirement for meaningful use. And when they took the blood pressure and entered in the fields into the EHR, because one of the criteria for meaningful use is the height, weight, and blood pressure. And it automatically calculates the BMI for you. Well, they took the blood pressure on this patient who this chiropractor had been seeing for over 10 years as a regular patient. So he initially had blood pressure from 10 years ago, but he hadn't had it in a long time. Well, when the staff took it, it was something like 215 over 202, something sky high. And so the chiropractor didn't believe the staff that it could be that high, so he retook it. Sure enough, it was. So what he did was he referred the patient down the street to the ER. And then later on that afternoon, he got a phone call. And that phone call came in from the ER physician who said, Doc, I want you to know that you saved this patient's life. He had 2 arteries, 99% blockage. We had to life flight him out. He's already had open heart surgery. He's stable and doing well. But I just wanted you to know that because you recognized something was wrong and you made that referral, that man's alive today because of you. He was a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. So what the chiropractor told me was interesting. It wasn't so much saving a person's life, even though that's important. It was what happened a week later. You see, he routinely asks the question when a new patient comes in. He asks them, how were you referred to my practice? And this woman, as a new patient, had come in about a month after this incident, and he asked her, how were you referred to my clinic? And she said, well, my husband referred me. He's the ER physician. He said you were one of the good chiropractors. Now, I know you might roll your eyes and you might laugh at that, but the fact is, isn't it interesting, the perception of those outside of our profession, that just simply taking a blood pressure by a chiropractor and making a referral changed the perception of that ER physician. These 2 doctors had been practicing in the same small town, just a few blocks apart. The hospital was just 4 blocks down the street from the chiropractor's office. And over 15 years of being in the same town practicing together, never had the ER physician ever referred somebody. And now, he referred his wife into the chiropractor. Interesting how perceptions can be changed that quickly. Now, that same chiropractor also told me that the same patient who had the open heart surgery, a patient of his for over 10 years, then over the course of the next 6 months, he got 3 other new patients who were family members of that person, and that patient had been a patient for 10 years and never referred anybody in before. Now, I'm not telling you to do meaningful use because you're going to get more referrals, but the fact is, those stories would not have happened if it wasn't for meaningful use. Those stories are true. Now, he also told me that his staff became so empowered by doing meaningful use because they felt like a bona fide clinic. They were taking the vitals. Remember, your staff's going to do 90% of this meaningful use. So what I'm trying to tell you is meaningful use are things you are doing already anyway. That same clinic, he told me one more story. A buddy of his, who had been a patient for many years, was coming in, and he knew his buddy smoked socially. And I don't know what socially means, but I assume it means a cigarette here and there. Well, one of the meaningful use criteria is to obtain the status of smoking on all individuals over the age of 13 and record yes or no. And if the answer is yes, then there's about 5 multiple choices of what frequency do they smoke, and you have to select one. And that's it, and you pass that criteria. Well, when he was reviewing it on this patient, who was his buddy, he discovered that his buddy was smoking 2 packs a day, and he had no idea. He was so literally freaked out that his friend was smoking 2 packs a day, and he didn't know about it all these years. He laid into him. Now, he was professional, but he was very passionate on why he needed to stop smoking. And his friend was so impacted that day by that passionate speech, he stopped smoking cold turkey that day. And then this chiropractor told me he had about 10 or 12 additional patients over the prior 2 years that the same thing happened, that he got a dozen or so other people to stop smoking just from a passionate lecture. And then he referred many, many more patients out to another chiropractor who did acupuncture or auriculotherapy on addiction points to help them natural methods of stop smoking. What I'm trying to say is, we as chiropractors are walking around telling the world that we are wellness doctors. We're telling people that we care about lifestyle things such as exercise, nutrition, and posture. And if the top 3 killers in America are due to smoking, obesity, and heart conditions, then why in the world aren't we more regularly monitoring vital signs, talking about weight loss, talking about smoking cessation? If we're going to walk the talk of being a wellness doctor, then those things need to be a part of our practice. I'm not telling you we need to go out and manage all these obesity cases, but if we're ignoring it and we're not addressing lifestyle questions on how it impacts the neuromuscular and musculoskeletal systems and the things we deal primarily with, and if we're out there claiming to be a primary care doctor, then we need to be a true wellness doctor in assessing these things. And meaningful use is just that simple. So folks, you can do this, and it will actually help grow your practice.